All right, so is Jeff Horn pricing himself out by asking for $5 million? Well, that depends on what side of the fence you are, or if you're consistent, right? If you're an uploader that believes Deontay Wilder deserves 50-50 to go up against Anthony Joshua, then certainly you could understand where Jeff Horn is coming from, right? Or that Deontay Wilder deserved 7 million versus, what's the fucking guy's name? Dillian White, right? Then you certainly could understand where Jeff Horn is coming from, because after all, even though the decision was bullshit versus Horn versus Pacquiao, with that one win, he has at least a better name overall, pound for pound wise, than Deontay Wilder does. This whole time, right? Too much inconsistencies that I see from these uploaders, and I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said already. There's been quite a few uploaders that have pointed this out, but you know, if Jeff Horn is asking for $5 million and you see that as some kind of way of ducking or pricing himself out, right? It all equals to ducking in your opinion, then you must feel the same way about Deontay Wilder. You see, you can't have it both ways. You can't, on one hand, understand where Wilder's coming from and wanting 50-50, but don't understand where Jeff Horn is coming from, right? After all, Jeff Horn does have a better win on his resume over Deontay Wilder, right? Deontay Wilder hasn't beaten anybody that can be compared to Manny Pacquiao as a heavyweight. Jeff Horn has that. He has that name on his resume. Now, you know, whether or not a Terence Crawford fight is worth $5 million, I'm not really here to debate that. I could care less. I mean, if he can get that kind of money, then, you know, more power to him, right? Maybe Jeff Horn's point of view is coming from a smart place. He knows, right? I mean, like, who really knows Jeff Horn, and who really expected much from him before the Manny Pacquiao fight? And still, after the Pacquiao fight, no one's really expecting much from him, and Bob Arum getting involved in Jeff Horn's career, from the way I understand it, he's still being promoted by the people that are promoting him in Australia, right? So he gets a guy like Bob Arum now interested in his career. And maybe he's smart enough to realize that that's just a way to get him in the ring with Terence Crawford, to use him, in other words. You know, use Jeff Horn because, Bob Arum's main interest isn't Jeff Horn, really. It's to build up Terence Crawford as his next star. Now that Manny Pacquiao, you know, more than likely is done with boxing, or should be done pretty soon. So maybe that's where Jeff Horn is coming from. He understands that, you know, you can see the writing on the wall. He's just Bob Arum sees Jeff Horn as a stepping stone for Terence Crawford to build his, this superstar status that he wants for Terence Crawford. You know, you beat a guy like Terence Crawford and you beat Jeff Horn, the guy who beat Manny Pacquiao, you know, it looks good, at least when it comes to casual boxing fans, that, you know, he's got a W versus the guy who beat Manny Pacquiao. So it looks good on his resume. And so therefore, Jeff Horn is looking at it as, well, you know, how bad do you want this fight? Because I know I'm just kind of like trying to get into Jeff Horn's head. He's probably saying, I know Bob Arum doesn't really care about me. This is about Terence Crawford, so why not ask for $5 million? Now, I don't know if he's asking for $5 million to come to the States to fight Terence Crawford, or he means wherever they fight, right? Whether it's in Australia, where he's from, or over here in the States, a fight with Crawford, right? Either way, you can't be an uploader. You can't be a so-called hardcore boxing fan, right? And argue that somebody like Deontay Wilder deserves 50-50 against Anthony Joshua, or 7 million versus Dillian White, and then shit on Jeff Horn and say that he's not worth $5 million and that he's pricing himself out and he's ducking. Because if he is, then so is Deontay Wilder, and so is every other, you know, guy you root for who's asked for those kind of demands. Anyway, that is my video.